Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Continuing on the Hisuian form speculation for Scarlet and Violet, I want to talk about Zoroark today. I think this has the most potential of all the Hisuian regional forms in VGC. First of all, this is actually confirmed for Gen 9, so this will be playable in Gen 9. Now as for its entire moveset, we really don't know. So, as always, this is speculation. Alright, getting into it, we have a brand new typing to the game, which is Normal and Ghost. And this is a fantastic defensive type. So, you have 3 immunities, and only 2 resist, but 3 immunities is huge, especially for this thing. And of course, you're only weak to Dark. So, overall, this is just like the perfect typing for Zoroark specifically. Offensively, you don't really get much, but that's to be expected. Normal doesn't give you offense. But Ghost will cover the things that Normal cannot hit very well, like Rock and Steel. Moving on to abilities, we still have Illusion. And this is just going to be insane. So the way Illusion works, if you throw this thing out, it's going to look like a different Mon until you hit it. When this thing comes out, it will be disguised as one of your Mon, which, depending on what it's disguised as, this could be a massive mix-up. And the Unova form was already capable of doing that. But what makes the Hisuian form so good at it is the typing, because you're immune to Fake Out, as well as immune to 3 typings. So this is a crazy good mix-up option, and it's going to be very hard to predict. Moving on to stats, the special attack is higher, and so is the speed, than the original form, and that is good because ideally you want this to be a special attacker, so you have 125 special attack and you trade 5 hit points for 5 more speed, which helps its optimization. The original has 60 base HP, 60 base defense, and 60 base special defense, which is really not great. This thing doesn't take a lot of hits. So taking the 5 off of hit points, you're really not going to feel that, but you will feel that extra 5 speed in certain matchups. Moving on to moves, the signature move is Bitter Malice, which is a 60 power special ghost move. 100% accuracy, has a 30% chance of Frostbite, which if Frostbite stays in Gen 9, then this will do Frostbite. Probably what's going to happen is this will have a chance of freezing. Unless they really do bring Frostbite into Gen 9, which I really hope they do. It's way better than freeze. But this move's power doubles if the target has a status condition. There's like 3 of moves like this in PLA, which I think they're fine, but they're not that easy to just get off on an opponent in VGC. So I don't expect that this is going to be a commonly used move, maybe for very specific setups, but I don't think this makes good use of it at all. And you'd be much better off using some of the other moves this thing has access to, like Snarl. Snarl's just a great move to have on something that can disguise its identity. Shadow Sneak, that is actually really good. If weakness policy is good in Gen 9, Shadow Sneak is going to be huge, because you can make this a surprise policy setter, and it would be incredibly hard to predict that. For example, you could have Metagross next to this thing, and it could be disguised as a Togekiss. Togekiss cannot set a policy on Metagross, but this thing can, and so when your opponent sees Shadow Sneak coming from Togekiss, that you can't predict that. And then, you know, Earthquake just happens or whatever if you want to blow up your Zoroark with an Earthquake. But yeah, things like that, that is impossible to predict. And that's going to make this thing so useful. And a best of 1 specifically, oh my goodness, that's going to be really good. This also gets access to Calm Mind. That's a pretty decent option. Giga Impact and Hyper Beam. So not so much Giga Impact, but Hyper Beam. It gets Stab on that. That's actually a really decent option, and I predict that's going to be commonly run. as just a way to try to get a lot of damage off really quickly as like a surprise. Now, this doesn't get coverage for Dark. It gets Rock Smash, which is really not... You're not running that. There's no way. But if we look at the original form, we do have U-Turn, which could be your Dark coverage, I guess. It won't do a lot of damage, but it'll cycle it out, which could be quite useful. Now, I don't know if this will get Night Days. I'm kind of thinking it won't, but I really am not sure. Night Days is a decent move, though. You have a 40% chance of dropping accuracy. Scary Face would be great to have. The original gets poison moves like Sludge Bomb, fighting move Focus Blast, Foul Play, Sucker Punch. Not really sure if the Hisuian form's going to get all of these, but if it gets some, like Sucker Punch, for example, that's a great move to have on this. Copycat if you want to go for shenanigans. Memento, actually, that's fine. It'd be hard to predict Memento. Yeah, I can see it getting access to some of these moves. Maybe not all of them, like Knockoff's probably not going to get Knockoff. Maybe not get Foul Play either. So what build should this have? If you're going to try to set a policy, Shadow Sneak is just amazing. So that is an option. But if you're just going to build this as a surprise damage, or just... The whole point of this thing is you don't know what it is. And you want to capitalize on that as hard as possible. I would suggest Shadow Ball as well as Hyper Beam on this thing with Snarl. And the fourth move, it's going to depend on what other moves it gets. If it gets U-Turn, probably would put U-Turn on there. Maybe Hyper Voice if it gets that. That's the moves I would run on this thing. As for item, it really just depends. Like, if you want to outspeed stuff, go for Scarf. If you want this thing to actually live a hit, go for Sash. If you want to blow something up with Hyper Beam, run it Choice Specs. Or maybe Life Orb. But what really makes this strong is its gimmick combined with its typing. This thing goes really well into Calyrex Shadow Rider. Pretty much any ghost type in the meta, this thing counters. Like Shed Ninja, because it's completely immune to the ghost move. And this thing could just blow it up. And the thing is, you would not know this thing is on the battlefield. You have to predict that it is. And that is a 50-50 every time. Because it could be a Gastrodon that it's disguised as, and you would have no idea. You have to guess. Like, would they bring this into the match? And would they lead it in the match? And what if that Gastrodon switches out and there's another Gastrodon there, you know? It's... There's so many mind games with this. Mind games are always good in a best of one, but having mind games with 3 immunities, that is insane. And I really predict this thing's just going to be very common on the ranked ladder specifically. So how do you deal with this thing? Well, Incineroar deals pretty well with it. If you run Snarl on Incineroar, you can find it pretty quickly, though it does scare off the immediate fake out. So what might show up as an answer to this is Kangaskhan with Scrappy, so that you can just fake it out regardless. And it will be immune to Zoroark's ghost moves. So I do expect that could be a pretty common counter to this, because I believe that is the best Scrappy user that we have right now. So this is going to take very specific countering to try to get rid of this. And it's so hard to predict that I think this is actually a good mon. And we will be seeing this in VGC. And it will be common. That is my prediction. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please let me know in the comments. And I will see you guys next time.